My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review for The Evil Dead. And I know this might seem odd to say because this movie is loved, but I still kind of find it to be underrated. Like when people talk about the Evil Dead franchise, they talk about Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. And rightfully so, but I feel like this first movie should be talked about more as well. So let's begin by talking about the cast, and Bruce Campbell does a good job here. He stands out enough, and Ash kind of reminds me of Ripley in this movie, just because he starts off as a side character, but by the end of the movie, he becomes the main character. And I like that aspect of Ash here. But if we're being honest, this is the least interesting version of the character. He really becomes an icon in the later movies, but it's still a good start here. Ellen Sandweiss, I thought, did a pretty good job. She can sell you on the tale when she needs to, and she can also be really scary when she needs to as well. Richard Demenko does a pretty decent job. I kind of like how his character just gives up, and I thought he was convincing. Betsy Baker, I thought, did a great job. This character has enough personality at the start, but when she gets possessed, she is so unnerving and scary, and I thought she really stood out. And Teresa Tilly does a pretty decent job as well. So, the characters in this movie aren't anything great, but the performances are good enough. But one thing I should talk about when it comes to this movie is the budget. Because this movie really is an independent film. This movie was made for $375,000. Minimal budget. Just a group of friends wanting to make a movie at a cabin in the woods. And this movie to me is inspirational. I wish I could make a movie like this, and it actually seems like a possibility. Like what Sam Raimi does here is just truly remarkable, and he really establishes himself in such a distinct manner. Like this movie is filled with his sensibilities. This movie has got so much style. I love the tracking shots throughout the woods. I thought the settings of the cabin and the woods are brought to life in a very effective way. And the practical effects in this movie are incredible. Like, they are so gross and gnarly and brutal, and they really stand out here. And I also love how this movie uses stop motion later on. Like, if you know me, you know that this movie fits nicely into everything I like about filmmaking. So I really do think this movie is incredibly well directed, and I love how tense and brutal this movie can be. Like, it is actually pretty scary. It can be very tense, and that tree scene is iconic, but it's also very disturbing and just fucked up. I like how the demons are taunting Ash throughout this movie. Sometimes they look normal, sometimes they look demonic, and you just get the sense that they're messing with his head, and their laugh is haunting. Just that. It's annoying at first, but it's so over the top and it's so excessive and it never ends to the point where it becomes frightening. But all that said, this movie is also hilarious. Like, I laughed so many times at just the campiness on display and some of the camera decisions, some of the filmmaking decisions are so creative and unique and really allow this movie to stand out. Like, that scene where, is it Linda? What's her name? The girl he's burying at the end, and he buries her, and then she attacks him again, and he cuts off her head, and then she jumps on him without a head. And when I described that scene, it sounds disturbing, but in its execution, it's comedy gold. So that's actually what really allows this movie to stand out, because Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness are much more comedic movies, but Evil Dead Remake and Evil Dead Rises, those movies are much more horror. And this is the one to have a perfect balance of horror and comedy. And I just think that allows this movie to still really stand out in this genre, in this franchise. And the story is very simple, but the simplicity works to its advantage. I just like how straight to the point the movie is, and I like the mythology we get. Like, obviously, the later movies explored more, but this movie is a great foundation. My only real issue is there's maybe some pacing issues, but I don't really care, to be honest, because I just love so much of this movie. I think it is directed incredibly well. I love the distinct style that Sam Raimi brings to this movie. I love the usage of practical effects and stop motion. I love how gross and disgusting this movie is and just how bloody it is. Like, for a movie made in 1983, this movie is bloody. I also love how funny this movie is, and it's just so entertaining. It's still to this day one of my favorite horror movies ever made, so I'm giving The Evil Dead a 9 out of 10. Just one of the absolute best movies. But The Evil Dead, have you seen it? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, stay tuned for more videos soon, and Gavin out.